The emotions are the language of the soul. And what happens is that we are connecting part of our souls with situations in our life. So we are all scattered in the many different experiences that we have had. When we die, when we leave this body, part of our souls are actually tangled with those experiences because they haven't been disconnected.
I'm like a joy seeker. I spend a lot of my time being like, what's going to feel the best for me right now? What's going to bring me the most happiness? What's going to bring me the most ease? The path of least resistance is like my mantra for life. Like, how can I move through this with ease, grace, and flow and find joy? And that's like my guiding principle. Welcome back, friends. Another episode coming at you hot off the presses. This is Inspired Alignment, which means that I am Kia.
And I'm Tenchi.
And together we are
Inspired Alignment.
This is the podcast where we talk many things. Communal living, life in an external community,
Authenticity,
motherhood,
spirituality,
bringing heaven to earth and what that means to us.
thinking out of the box.
All sorts of different things. Depends on the day, really and truly, and how we're feeling. And it's funny that you say authenticity today, because I don't know if we've ever thrown that one in there in our list of this is what we're about. I mean, it is what we're about, but I don't think we've ever specifically mentioned it. But as I sat, like, preparing to come to film today, I was kind of like, I don't really have a topic on my mind that I want to talk about. And we actually were in separate spaces this morning, the one family and the other family. And when we came back together, the feeling that I had from the group, like myself, Tenchi, kind of everybody, is like, we already committed to filming today, so we're going to do it. But I don't know if it's like the primary desire of any one of us to film today.
Yes.
And it got me thinking about authenticity. And like, because we've made a commitment and because we truly believe that these conversations and what we share is important to get out there, it's easy to be like, okay, we're filming once a week so that we can continue to produce content and we can continue to get our words out there. We also had a moment where we realized that because Tenchi's such an external processor, if we don't talk about things in front of the camera, then we often will say to each other like, oh, let's save that conversation because we want it to be in front of the camera. And then we don't.
Vanishes.
Yeah, the moment vanishes. And so she ends up bottling things that she would not normally bottle because she's used to being able to talk to whoever she wants, when she wants about it, which she still can. But we're like, if you talk to us about it now, then we won't be able to talk about it on camera. So we've been saving things. Anyways, so we've committed for one reason or another to sit once a week and do this. But this morning, it's like, okay, we don't want to. So I was thinking about it from an authentic perspective. Like, is it a more authentic choice for us to have like looked at each other and said, dude, I don't feel like filming today. Like, I feel kind of meh. I had this experience this morning. It kind of set me off, or like whatever's going on for us, and decide like we're not going to film because the energy that we might bring isn't maybe as high level as it normally is, or maybe we're feeling like we're out of touch with, you know, our higher selves or whatever, like normally we go to a place before we're going to film and we get ourselves like somehow excited and open to receive whatever we're supposed to be sharing. And like for me today, it didn't feel like that. For me, I was like, I'm just going to come kind of blah and see what happens. And it just got me thinking about, would it be more authentic to sit here and talk for an hour about like how I feel blah and how you feel blah and put that out there and let people respond to like, sometimes I feel blah too? Or would it be more authentic to come and like still try to elevate ourselves and put out something that is positive and somehow inspired and somehow aligned, even though it might at the beginning feel like faking it till we make it? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I don't feel we can fake it till we make it because we're not fakers. At the same time, we are creating the space to bring whatever we want to bring at the time. And if what we are bringing is blah, as you mentioned it, I trust that the audience is going to receive it as well, because this is a space for that. And at the same time, it brings me to a place of I'm not gonna call it keep pushing, but it's like be there, because I am one person that every single thing that throws me off, I'm like, this is happening. I am not gonna do whatever I said I was gonna do, because let me see how I feel, kind of thing, because that was the way I was raised. However, that is not what I want to
Perpetuate.
perpetuate in my life anymore. So it's like, yeah, I may not be at my 100. I may not feel like I have something to process in front of the camera. I may not feel that I know exactly where we're going. I just sat in here and I just trusted. I put my oil, like clear the noise, because of that. It's like, if I clear the noise of my mind of what it should be, I will be able to be open to receive whatever needs to come in whatever stage we are. And I think it's important to go in that level of vibration, from the top vibration down, because as human beings, that's what we are meant to do. We are fluctuating all the time. We're not supposed to be always riding high. That is not sustainable. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. And I trust and I know and I believe that even when we are down, we can have moments of inspiration. We can take and have moments of self-acceptance. We can have moments of wisdom. We can have moments that actually impulses of, like, pushes us up again to go up. And while we are up, and then we cannot sustain that, we go down, and that is the nature of how life it should be. So I think it's great. It's great that we are not feeling
Great.
normally like inspired alignment.
See, I think that's why I thought this would be something worth talking about, because you say that in the past and sort of your natural path in a moment like this would be like, forget whatever I said I was going to do. This is what's going on for me. So like, I want to honor my feelings and my emotions and my resistance and my whatever, rather than try to push through and do the thing that I said I was going to do. Whereas I'm totally the opposite. Like when you said, like, we're not fakers. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not a faker for sure. But I am definitely more in the camp of like, I said I was doing whatever today, like whatever it is, in this example, filming a podcast. So like, I could have gone and like cried my face off before this and you would know, because my tears are like, eyes are swollen and I look like a hot mess, but I would still come here and be like, well, I said I was going to film. So we are filming because that's what I said we were going to do. And I just think it's an interesting, it almost leads me into a conversation that we were going to begin the other day about like that, what you were just talking about, that fluctuation and like sometimes being up and sometimes being down, because I think we've toed the line of that conversation a couple of times. I'm like a joy seeker. I spend a lot of my time being like, what's going to feel the best for me right now? What's going to bring me the most happiness? What's going to bring me the most ease? The path of least resistance is like my mantra for life. Like, how can I move through this with ease, grace, and flow and find joy? And that's like my guiding principle. So for me, when I encounter things that I'm like, I don't feel joy right now, like I feel lots of resistance. This is not the path of least resistance. This is not feeling joyful or happy or fun or anything. I kind of, my nature is like to figure out a way to do some kind of pivot and make it so that at least there is more joy than there was before, and then maybe do another pivot so there's more joy than there was before. And that's how I like consciously choose to live my life, because I think it's my belief, or at least it has been in the past, and I think the purpose of this conversation is I'm kind of exploring that. Like, the longer I spend feeling not joyful and things that are lower vibration and things that make me feel like icky and stuck and irritable and all those things, like,
Stagnant.
yeah, in my mind, I'm like, this is not where I want to be. And because I'm such a believer in the law of attraction, I'm like, while I sit here in this muck, the things that are coming to me are exactly this. And I don't want that. I totally, like, that's why I pivot away and I try to get myself to the place where I feel happier and more joy filled, because that's what I want the law of attraction to bring me more of. And that's like a very much core belief for me. And I know you are also a big believer in the law of attraction, But I think we see that whole thing differently, like how you were just talking about your fluctuations.
Yes.
Not yours, life's fluctuations.
Yeah. I actually have had this conversation with my mom. In To a certain point, I have the impression that everything that is related to the law of attraction is pushing the other emotions and feelings aside. It's like, I don't want to see you, and then I don't deal with you. And it's like putting everything in a closet that eventually will not hold anything else. It's like putting everything in a container, and eventually will not hold anymore
Yeah.
until it explodes. So I cannot do that. I don't have it. It doesn't come easy to me or for me to see life or navigate life in that way. I focus on what I want, and I understand that whatever I'm feeling is not keeping me away from where I'm going, but I'm going to honor where I am feeling right now. And I am a whole digger, you know that. Like, I always go down and find reasons why. And I need to process, because I also believe that I came here as service of another lineage of humans that have been here before me, that haven't been able to process emotions and feelings the way I can. And the more feelings and the more emotions I process, the less baggage I think I'm going to be bringing to my children's life, kind of thing. That is a belief as well. It's like, yes, I came here for joy, but we also have that I don't even know how to, because it is intangible. I don't know how to grab it and mention it and describe it in a certain way. We come of service to humanity itself. And the emotions is a language of the soul. So we go through some things, some situations, and we feel the emotions. And by saying, and the good and the bad ones, it's just we vibrate and feel high and joy and happiness, but we also feel sadness and grief and anger. And by unprocessing those and pushing them aside, who's going to process all this? Who's going to take care of that? Because our soul is telling us something about our feelings. And if we push them aside, what are we doing? It's just finding and seeking joy? Only that? I don't know. I believe in balance. And just by looking at joy and finding happiness and just, like always feeling good, 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 is being on out of balance.
Unbalanced.
So I think the game and the art to master here is to juggle both. It's like, okay, I'm down, and I am gonna deal with this, and I'm gonna find out why I'm feeling this way, and I may have the answers for this feeling, what my soul wants to tell me about this. And if I don't have an answer for this, I can look behind me and select what my mom will be or feel about this, because sometimes our feelings and our way of reacting to any situation or any circumstance in our life has nothing to do with us, but something that somebody else went through that was not able to process. So we are here of service to untangle that knot so we can go more in flow. And when those moments come of being down, it's not going to feel that painful, because it's actually not that painful. It's just we're afraid of feeling that way, because sometimes we feel it very deep inside. But I feel and I think and I know for experience that the more you go through the ups and downs in that um, rate of vibration, the easier is to get up. You know what I mean? It's like we stay up in the highest vibration feelings and emotions. But when we come down, because we are used to come in and out, in and out, in and out, dealing with our baggage,
Mm-hmm.
it just gets easier. It's like, I'm not gonna stay here so long. If before I stayed 10 days in depression because I felt like, oh my goodness, it's too heavy, the feeling that I'm feeling right now.
Mm-hmm.
The more I visit that place, because I am decluttering that
Mm-hmm.
that empty closet, that empty space that is full of emotions,
Mm-hmm.
then it's easier. It feels easier. And at the same time, you realize the strength of your soul too. It's like, oh my goodness, this is heavy stuff, but I can deal with this. I can do this. I can talk about this. I can understand this. I can accept this. I can give light to this. I can love me while I'm going through these heavy emotions. And that is something that, as soul, when we leave this body and this personality, I feel like, okay, next. I can do that. Because coming to a 3D, coming to this planet and being on the 3D and being to the maximum expression of density is so much for the soul. It's so heavy for the soul. No wonder we want to just be vibrating higher and higher and higher, because that's where we're coming from. But we also have to deal with the lowest vibrations.
Yes. I think, and what like has been in my mind while you were speaking is, for me, it's kind of like I said at the beginning of this podcast. If we came feeling like blah, and somehow that's what we're sending out through this video, which I'm not saying we are, but if that was the case, I think my perception is like, when I am feeling so yucky, I know my bad feelings are catching. Like, obviously, I have 3 kids. If I'm grouchy and irritable and, you know, feeling in some kind of a way not joyful, usually like my kids somehow pick up on like that mood or the other people around me. And I think that scares me, like my responsibility for how other people are feeling, which I know doesn't exist. Like, I'm not responsible for other people's feelings. But like, the reality is, I can see how what I do plays a role in them. Although, even as I am saying that, what is coming to my mind is the fact that if I'm grouchy and I'm irritable, my kids might get it a little bit, because they'll be like, ooh, like, give that lady space today.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, they don't take on my emotions. Do you know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
literally remember moments from when I was a newer mom, when Tucker was like maybe 4, and I would be in the thick of these like ridiculous emotions from all the stuff that I was dealing with at that point in time. And Tucker, as a 4-year-old, would like walk past me crying on the floor, and I'd be like somehow mad at the 4-year-old for not coming and like sitting in my shit with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, can you not see that I'm like sad and you just don't care? Like, you're just going on and being 4 and being fine. Like, just be upset with me. Like, give me a hug. Come take some of my emotion, because I don't want this. But the reality is, I'm completely talking in a circle here, but my kids don't take on my emotions. I take on my kids' emotions. Like, if my kids are having a bad day or grouchy about something, because of who I am, I take it as like, I take it on probably because I think their emotion is as a result of something that I've done.
I hear you when you say that you're not responsible for what your kids feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say it is natural and is normal for us to have that extra sensorial side of ourselves when we can pick somebody else's vibrations. Because at the end, the feeling is just the way that we vibrate. So if we feel grouchy, we are vibrating in a very dense way. It's not that light, and it's so easy to pick it up. It's not only your children, everybody that is around you feels something is out of whack, something is out of, I don't know, the 0 point, let's say, like 0 positive and 0 negative.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is when it comes, like, it will be so much easier if we can let the people know, like, I'm going through some things in here, not necessarily explaining what you're going through, because sometimes we don't even know what we're going through. We just know that we are feeling a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it has nothing to do with you. I am feeling yucky right now. I am feeling something that is very hard for me to feel. I want to honor my feelings, and I want to go through this without affecting you. And in that sense, it's like asking for space for you to feel whatever you're feeling, giving yourself permission to feel what you're feeling. And from the other side is sitting and placing in a space of compassion, because we all go through that. We all feel, and we all have those moments of feeling yucky. So it's like, yeah, I hear you. It's okay. Take your time. Like, I am not going to take it personally. Thank you for telling me, because we also have, or some of us, like me, have the tendency to feel like, is this something that I did? I'm always looking for, well, what have I done? What have I done? Because I don't have to tell more about my story. Like, this is a person that normally reacts in that way. It's like I need to please everybody, I need to make everybody happy. And if somebody is unhappy, that is my responsibility too. So what have I done?
Mm-hmm.
But if you come and say like I'm feeling grouchy, I'm going through some stuff and I don't feel like sharing right now, I think the people who lives with you will say that that's okay, take your time. Not only take your time, it's like go feel your feelings. We get you covered. Like you can leave your kids with other people that are not going through the same thing, and it's okay because you as a single mom have been also in a cycle of, because you're responsible for their feelings, you are not taking care of your own feelings, because like how if my feelings are affecting my kids and I don't want to bring my baggage onto them, so you are protecting them, but by protecting them you are kind of not taking care of yourself, not honoring yourself.
Yeah. I think like everything that you just described on both sides takes such a high level of consciousness and makes me like very grateful for the fact of where we sit. I remember at one of our circles, we were sharing a conversation that we had had, and one of the participants said like, you guys are so lucky to have each other to like have those conversations with. And I think we were both kind of like, yeah, we are for sure, but also you can find someone to have conversations with too. But the truth of the matter is like, yes, absolutely, there are very conscious humans all over the planet, and the more you let your conscious self shine, it's like waving your flag, we call it, right? Like if you want the people to find you, you gotta you gotta plant your flag on top of the mountain. So it's like, this is where I am, my conscious self, and I am looking to have conscious conversations and conscious relationships with people. But the amount of consciousness it takes to, number one, like come with your emotions and know these are mine, and like, yeah, maybe I don't know what's causing them. And I think realize that like as humans, it's very easy to look at all the external factors and be like, well, so and so left their plate in the sink, and my kid just spilled their milk on the table, and this other thing happened, and those are all the reasons why I am flying off the handle. When in reality, it's like, no, there is something else that is going on for you, that for some reason like these things are bothering you. And the more you're triggered by those little small things in life, to me, in my opinion, is a greater sign that there are things that need to be looked at in yourself. So that's a high level of consciousness, to realize that it's not everybody else's shit that is making you feel things, because nobody makes us feel things. And then to receive it, like you said on the other side, for me to be like, I am freaking out over this spilled milk and this plate and this whatever, and I don't know why, but I need to go and sit and do the thing. And to be the person hearing that and being like, okay, so like it's not my fault, because I did put the plate in the sink, you know, like, but it's not my fault. And like to be able to step back with that high level of consciousness and be like, no, me putting a plate in the sink is not really the culprit of this feeling. And obviously that's a very surface level example. I think it gets trickier when the examples are deeper. You know what I mean? Like if you and I had a very in-depth conversation and I made a comment to you, like, I've noticed whatever about you, Tenchi, and you're like, oh, like that hurts. But again, the consciousness to be like, it doesn't hurt because Kia said it. It hurts because some part of me needs to look at that. And for me to not react and be like, oh, I poked Tenchi in a soft spot, I'm never going to do that again, because I hate the reaction that I'm seeing from her. She looks like a wounded animal, you know, like this is terrible. So to have to take a step back and refine our conscious selves and be like, okay, I said what I said. She is a conscious enough human being to look at it objectively. And I too need to be a conscious enough human being to know that I said that for a reason, and I didn't say it to hurt her. And so we can both go sit with like what that brings up for us and realize that whatever is coming up for us is our own stuff, independent of the interchange.
Yeah.
It's through those interactions that these things come, but it's not the interaction that needs like work all the time. I don't know if that makes sense.
Because it's a practice. It takes practice, I think. It takes practice. It takes, it's like a muscle. We need to strengthen that part of ourselves. And when we receive what we are given, but we're always receiving feedback in many ways. It's not only one thing is just by saying it's like I'm observing this on you and you and you, but we also receive feedback energetically speaking
Mm.
when you do something and the energy of the room changes, and you have to know that something is out of whack. And then it takes the practice of checking on yourself. It's like, okay, instead of saying what everybody did, say like, what have I done
Mhm.
that can make the environment around me to change the vibration?
Mhm.
And after you do your own searching until you just start digging in yourself and start looking at your own baggage things, like, oh, maybe it was me that, let's say that I was the one leaving the plate on the sink.
Mhm.
It was like, but then as I say it, it's like, is this because I left the sink, the plate on the sink? Or you may say, can you just please not leave the sink? Maybe we can start digging and continue digging. It's like, why is it bugging you so much that I left the plate in the sink? If
Mhm.
we are talking about the plate in the sink, it's just an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And in that way is a feedback, is a mutual feedback, because we are here as projections of each other.
Mhm.
We know that when we go up in consciousness, we are one, but we are experiencing this reality from your perspective and from my perspective. But in the middle of between the two of us, there is something that needs to be looked at. And what I'm saying, this is not mine, is not yours, is our. So I tell you, I'm looking at this. What are you looking at? Oh, I'm looking at this. Okay. And now I have this perspective and you have that perspective. And right now, maybe this is the only way that we'll have. Another time, life is gonna bring us another opportunity to look at another and at this same thing through a different circumstance. And in that way, we're gonna look from another perspective, another angle,
Mhm.
until we untangle this knot. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh, it's in the past. And then we'll say, oh, you remember when you were bugged by me leaving the dishes in the sink?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I do remember that long time ago.
Mhm.
It's vanished
Yeah.
because we have dared to talk about that.
Mhm.
And that is the beauty of this,
Mhm.
is like having and being open to really have tough conversations. Because now Ivan and I were talking about that on the way from Victoria the other day.
Mhm.
It's like it's so difficult to have, or to not even difficult, is actually out of practice to have hard conversations.
Mhm.
That was due to a podcast that Ivan was mentioning the other day, when the host of the podcast was saying that this generation does not know how to have tough conversations.
Mhm.
Like talking about something and being in disagreement
Mhm.
creates a breakup.
Mhm.
Instead of, no, we can remain friends, and you have your perspective and I have my perspective, and they are not the same, but we can continue being friends. And it's actually going around and say authenticity. Like, I can continue being me and you can continue being you, me with my opinions, you with your opinions, and we can still remain together. We can still live life actually more enriched,
Mhm.
because now, by walking by your side, holding your hand, I can see your perspective
Mhm.
and you can see mine. But if I walk by myself, all I have is my perspective. How enriching will that be, a life with only one perspective? Like, the horses that
Mhm.
can only
Blinders.
see one thing.
Mhm.
I don't know you, but I don't choose that. I'm always looking for other people's perspectives, because our perspective is just this. Our perspective is very limiting.
Mhm.
But if I can suddenly have another pair of eyes and see things differently, I can take weight out of my shoulders, because it doesn't have to be my way. It's like there is no my way. My way is a very limited way of seeing life. It's just your way. I'm sorry. You think your way is the best? No.
Mhm.
There are many other ways that are valid,
Mhm.
that work for you. That's the way, your way, that works for you. And when you stay true to that because it works for you, then you are in authenticity.
Mhm.
And when it doesn't work for you, if you dare to look for other perspectives, because like, how come I'm doing this and it's not working for me? It's like, oh, somebody else will come and offer you a perspective. How about you do this? Oh, let me try. No, this perspective doesn't work. It's like putting glasses. I want to see the situation with grace and love. And right now I can't because it's fogged with all the emotions that I haven't processed before. So all I'm seeing is hurt and hurt and hurt that I don't want to see. So all I have to do is like taking my glasses or cleaning my glasses so I can see better. We need to deal with our emotions. And those triggers, those silly triggers, the tiny things that happen to us is because they are a reflection of that saying that the drop that
straw that broke the camel's back. Is that what you were going to say? Yeah, a different one? Something about a drop? Okay.
Yeah.
The last little thing that makes the situation explode.
Yeah, in Spanish we have la última gota que derramó el vaso. It's like the last drop that made the water spill. Okay. We have been containing and holding and holding and holding and holding until we cannot hold anymore. We just can't, because we're not meant to hold. We are meant to deal. That's our power. Yes, we are very powerful manifestors when we focus on the things that we want, and when we keep the vibration up. But not because we are going through pain means that our vibration is down. Actually, it's more powerful. It's like flushing a clogged pipe. Okay. It's like you have your vortex, but in the vortex, it doesn't matter how joyful you are all the time. If in your vortex you are putting feelings that you don't want to deal with, but if you come with your power of feeling joy and knowing that whatever you're going through is just this time. This doesn't define who you are, and doesn't define where you're going, and doesn't define your path right now. It's just something that you have to deal with. And yes, sometimes we need to say, I know I said I'm going to film today and I have this commitment, but I also need this commitment with myself. And at the end, the commitments that you have for yourself are more important than the commitments that you have with other people. And I think that is something that I am starting to, to discern. I need to be able to discern when the commitments are more important. Like, we are so used to live for others and not for us, that we are like not only pleasing others, but be reliable for others. But can we be reliable to ourselves? Can our soul know that this personality tension is going to deal with something that my soul came to deal with? Or I'm going to be tension saying, no, higher self, no, soul, we're not going to deal with that because I told Kia that we're going to film today. So sorry,
rain check.
Yeah. No, sometimes like, honey, I'm sorry, but you didn't come over here to film. I'm glad that you have fun and I'm glad that you enjoy filming, but what you came here was to do the work. And that's what people says, like, do the work, deal with your baggage. So the backpack that we pass on to our children and the next generations are lighter and lighter and lighter. It's not always focusing on joy. Yes, it's a good exercise. It's contagious. It makes us feel so much better. But if we know that we have a space to hold us when we are low, there is joy in there too. It's like, I'm going through crap, but I'm not going through crap by myself because I'm not alone in this. Yes, it will be harder if I am by myself with my kids dealing, but I need to go to the beach right now. I need to deal with this and with my emotions or whatever, in whatever way and form they come. Can you just please look at my children? Can you just please make a craft for the kids so I can go to the room? Can I just please, whatever? Can I just please talk to you? Can you just please help me figure out what's going on with me? I'm feeling this and this and this and that. And maybe from another perspective, it's like, oh, this is called grief. This is called anger. And let's find out why. Let's ask questions. Let's start digging. And I think that's something that sometimes we do. Most of the time, I'm me processing my things. But when we have the opposite to do the same thing, the same processing is so different. It's like I hold the space for you in different ways, many different ways than the space that you hold for me. And it becomes that giving and receiving balance that at the end makes our relationship the way it is.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if anybody might be able to relate, but I know I have a lot of somehow feelings that I need to process. But because they're not current, I think I've had this conversation with you before. Like, if in the moment there isn't a person directly there, like somehow catching me in my moment of vulnerability and like I'm feeling this right now, then it's hard for me to reaccess. So a lot of the things that I have been through in the last, I don't know how many years, a number of years, in that moment, I was very much an individual person raising kids who had to just kind of keep on keeping on. So taking the moment for the feeling seemed like an impossibility. I'm sure it was not, but from my perspective at the time, like there was no option to stop. I just had to continue. And like years of doing that. So now sometimes things come up for me, but I know they're old and I don't really know how to access them. And I think that's what's like trickier. Like I think in the moment nowadays, if we were having some kind of problem, I can be like, hey, yeah, like this is bugging me because it's what's happening right now. But it is tricky to try to find a way to, yeah, go into the backpack, to use your analogy, and be like, okay, way down at the very bottom from like 5 years ago is this thing that was really tricky at the time and like made me in crazy ragey or crazy fearful or just not live a very happy life. But I like couldn't put it on in that moment because it would not have served me then, I don't think. Something to dive into probably there too, but like I just couldn't at that time. And now I'm like, why would I bother bringing that back out again? Like it's done, it's over. And not even consciously, why would I bother? I don't know how to, I think.
Yeah. Well, there are different things that I would like to talk about on your statement right now. And number one is the belief that because they are old ones, you will not know how to process, because that is the what is referred to in that phrase of stepping with, ¿cómo se dice? How do you say that? Tropezarte con la misma piedra. Tripping with the same rock or the same stone. Do you guys have something like that in English?
Probably I'm terrible at coming up with phrases, but you mean like you will continue to do the same thing?
Yes.
Like the definition of insanity.
Exactly. Like not because something happened in the past and that feeling was put in a baggage or in a backpack doesn't mean that life will give you the opportunity to deal with that again in a different way. So the feelings, when we come to feelings and the way we feel, some situations will be meant for us to make us feel the way we felt in the moment when we couldn't process and understand what happened at that time. So let's go back to the same example of the dishes. It's like, let's say that one day, let's just create a story here because this is just an example. This didn't happen for real this morning. Let's say that one day when you were little, your dad there to put the sink or leave the plate and the dishes in the sink. And your mom, because she was dealing with her own baggage and her own journey, she just yelled at dad. And she just said so many mean things to your dad, and you were there listening to that. And you felt a whole bunch of emotions that time with a lot of question marks that you didn't have answers for. But what do you do, or what do we do as children? It's like, because we don't have the answers for that and we don't have anybody to come with, we don't even know how to express what we were feeling and what, like, we don't know. We just know that that moment was, oh my gosh, that is a lot of stress. It's, what do I do? We put them all like in a gift wrap and we put it back in a backpack. And then the year after is not only that, you went to Thanksgiving Day and you heard grandma saying, everybody do the dishes because I am tired, I'm not going to do the dishes. Something else with the dishes that makes you remember something about the dishes the year before. And you this time have a different perspective, a different set of feelings, but you put them in the same bag, in the same gift wrap.
Mm-hmm.
And we go in life accumulating different experiences with dishes that makes us feel different ways, and makes us feel kind of the same way because it connects us. The idea, the tricking here is that the connection of the moment with the feeling. What we have to do is to disconnect, because what happens is not labeled. It's our brain and our ego that is labeling the experiences that are happening to us as good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
That is the whole thing. Like when I go and dig in the when I refer to dig in my rabbit hole and find the thing, what I'm doing is disconnecting whatever happened with whatever I was feeling by trying to understand why I felt the way I felt. What happened in my surroundings that made me feel the way I felt. So dealing with the thing is that untangling, because that is part of our souls. I said the emotions are the language of the soul. And what happens is that we are connecting part of our souls with it to situations in our life. So we are all scattered in the many different experiences that we have had. And when we go back, when we die, when we leave this body, part of our souls are actually tangled with those experiences because they haven't been disconnected. I am going to reclaim part of me by saying I am, like whatever happened, it was just the dishes. And I will look at from different perspective. My mom was tired. My dad had the habit of not washing his dishes. Grandma, that was her way to set her boundaries. And you start justifying other humans because there is no way that you will have an answer, a straight answer, because not everybody has that level of consciousness. And we're like, oh, I did this because of this and this and that. We don't even have answers.
Mm-hmm.
But we somehow, or at least this is part of my journey, I became a human justifier because I have compassion. I am not going to come and judge. You did this and you did that and you made me feel like, no, my brain made me feel in a certain way because I didn't have answers. And my brain had to come with answers. And my soul got attached to that episode, to that thing. That's why we get triggered. And what happens is that we get triggered right now. After years, 40 years, we get triggered and we just like, oh, no, we push it away. We push it away because we are afraid of feeling again the same thing, the same way. But if we come with a daring heart, with an open heart, and say, whatever situation comes to my life is because this is an opportunity for me to untangle something that I have in that baggage so I can let it go. I can let it go because it's going to sound weird, but this is the way I'm seeing. It's grounding me too much. It's grounding me too much. The image that I have right now coming to my mind are the helium balloons with rocks. The helium balloons are part of our souls, and the rocks are situations that happen on this planet that can stay here. We don't have to take them with us. And we can recover the power by recovering those aspects of ourselves that we left in a situation. It's like, this is mine. The situation, there was a situation, let it go. Forgive, justify, accept. It's part of the process of how to deal with the baggage.
I feel I have to use the word defend, but not use the word defend. I'm looking for a better one, but I can't find it, so I'm going to use it. But somehow, I the word grounding in that situation, I feel like is somehow not the right word, because being grounded is something that you struggle with. I am great at. So yes, what you're saying, we're weighed down by those things. But I just don't think grounded is the right word, because there's a lot of power in being grounded and being able to be in reality. And I just think that's different than the weight that you are talking about our souls being stuck in those situations.
Yes, but being grounded, you can still have a joyous life dealing with your baggage, knowing and going through situations that somehow will make you feel heavy. And it's funny because you said you are very grounded, but at the same time you don't want to deal with the heavy emotions that make you grounded. Actually, if we think about if we take the principle that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, the experience, the human experience that you're having is named Kia.
Mhm.
You describe Kia as a very grounded human being. But when you leave your body, once you're done here on this planet is done,
Mhm.
you're gonna go back
Mhm.
to whatever realm and whatever dimension, whatever planet, whatever, like we can talk about that in another episode, but you go back into your spiritual form.
Mhm.
And when you go back into your original form, you don't want to get that thing that made you grounded. You don't want to get that aspect of that you don't want to actually, what you don't want to get with you is the heavy emotion that we have and we experience and we came to experience actually in this 3D. That's what I'm saying, ground you.
Yeah, but like I feel like because it is who you are in your perspective, and because you are not so grounded,
Yeah.
you're like,
Only from the
as quickly as
from
we
your-
can get rid of all that stuff that's grounding us, that's the greatest way to go. Do you know what I mean? Like all that stuff is weighing us down. Our mission is to get back to where we came from. And like, yes, that is great in the grand scheme of things. Like you're very much a big picture human, but something that you need work on is right now we're in a small picture human being. Like we are living this Tenchi reality and accepting a little more grounding as not being like, oh, all those things that are pulling me down to earth. Like that is your perspective on it in so many of our conversations. You're like, I don't want to be here so much like this. I could learn how to do that, but that will make me too grounded and too human, and I'm not interested in that.
Yes. However, there is something that it's coming right now, and is I do know and accept, and it's no secret for anybody that I live from my belly button up.
Mm-hmm.
My upper chakras are the ones that are more active, and my lower chakras are like, I don't want to step on the floor too much.
Mm-hmm.
However, I came here to bring heaven to earth.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing heaven to earth is actually grounding that spiritual being, that spiritual way of living here to this earth.
Mm-hmm.
So what I am getting right now is that by the way we deal with our emotions, knowing how to detach the emotion with the situation, that is a different way of grounding. That is a way of grounding heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Because so far the reality that we are creating has become too dense, and it's not meant to be so dense.
Yeah, I just think like that nice definition of grounding is a more, at least like there's a two sides to it.
Mm-hmm.
When you chucked it out there the first time, it was like,
Yeah.
these yucky things that are grounding us, and I had to like fight and defend grounding for just a moment because as
Yeah.
you just beautifully described, it has a
Yeah.
lovely role in our
Yes.
human experience, and I just felt the need to pick up my sword for grounding for a moment there.
Yeah. Well, this is something also that is beautiful about us. It's like somehow I feel like you are teaching me how to live with my lower chakras, and I am inspiring you because I cannot teach you, but I can inspire you. I can remind you to live with your upper chakras, and in that way, the fluctuation of the energy between the two of us is just so beautiful and enriching.
Mm-hmm.
So it is perfect. It is perfect. And I think this is a beautiful way to close this episode on grounding and authenticity and so many different ways and forms of dealing with our so-called baggage.
Mm-hmm.
Untangling and separating the situation from the feelings, and seeing the feelings as a way of our soul, that our soul has to express ourselves, and the situations just being that, a situation, no good nor bad.
Yeah, absolutely. From nothing to something, hey? We had slightly less than normal desire to be here today, and now I could sit here for another hour and we could just chat. You ready? We're ready.
I'm ready too. So see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe, give it the link, the click to the bell so you get notified whenever our videos are coming out. And yes, keep being part of this conversation. Leave us your comment on how do you find ways, or if you have any other way that we didn't mention today, on how to deal with our baggage with a more beautiful something.
A little more grace, maybe. Who knows?
We would love to hear about that.
Absolutely.
So until next time, see ya.